Something that I've learned in my time on Earth is that sometimes people just lie. A $5 footlong is not 1 foot long, nor is it $5 anymore. The Undertaker isn't actually a magical zombie cowboy biker, and after 7 seasons, there's no way that Jess is still the new girl in town. Sometimes Pokemon lie too. For example, Avalugg. This thing has 184 defense and 95 HP. I've been told that this is a, quote, defensive Pokemon, but that's just a lie too. No defensive Pokemon would be given the pure Ice type and a special defense stat so low that I could one-shot it with a mean Twitter DM. The thing is, Avalugg isn't a one-off. There's plenty of failed defensive Pokemon to talk about, and today, that's just what I want to do. Let's talk about defensive Pokemon that just don't work, and examine how they fail at their jobs. Also, sorry for a lack of videos lately, I've just been super sick and today's like the first day in a week I could actually focus on stuff. This is just a quickie, so my apologies. Let's just get right into it. If you guys enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, check out the Patreon, become a YouTube channel member, hype the video, all of that. And hey, you definitely want to subscribe because at 300,000 subscribers, I'll be ranking every bench in Lumio City. Let's just begin. So what makes a good defensive Pokemon? While they don't have to have everything perfect to be a usable defensive Pokemon, but having huge flaws in their designs makes them fall apart entirely in a way that offensive Pokemon just don't. An offensive Pokemon might have everything they need to succeed, but not be able to deal with any fire type like ever, and it would still be good. Because other Pokemon on the team can deal with them, and it's just reasonable for them to not be able to beat literally everything in the game. Where defensive Pokemon might not be able to deal with a particular type to the same capacity, but it creates a far worse scenario. This is because where the offensive Pokemon couldn't KO that Pokemon in most cases, the defensive Pokemon can't take a hit from that type. It's far easier to encounter this issue defensively because Pokemon tend to carry coverage moves, or moves of types that they are not, to deal with specific scenarios. So if you're left using a defensive Pokemon that folds to a single water move, it's pretty likely that there are multiple water moves on one team, making that Pokemon's job much more difficult. Sometimes typing isn't the only way that a defensive Pokemon can fail though. Low HP stats, lack of useful tools, and no recovery options are all ways that defensive Pokemon can be hindered in doing their jobs. You want a defensive Pokemon to be able to last long enough in a battle to fulfill whatever task it's meant to do. That might be setting up or clearing hazards, stalling out a Pokemon with status moves, setting up a certain field condition for other Pokemon, and much more. But if they can't last long enough to fulfill their task, they're just not worth using. So let's begin with the poster child of failed defensive Pokemon. Avalugg actually fails on a couple of different levels. Not only is it a pure Ice-type Pokemon, but it's a defensive Pokemon that goes all or nothing with one defensive stat. Its physical defense is a whopping 184, and combined with its great 95 HP stat, it's actually pretty difficult to KO Avalugg with neutral moves. The issue is that as a pure Ice type, there's not a lot of moves that are just neutral against it. Beyond that, its incredible physical defense stat comes at a pretty unacceptable cost of having just 46 special defense. That is a special defense stat low enough that even a moderately powerful special attacker will be able to 1 or 2 hit KO Avalugg. And you may believe that Avalugg might be created with the intention of it actually just being an offensive Pokemon with great defenses and an Achilles heel in its special defense, but the fact of the matter is, 117 attack isn't nearly high enough these days to justify such a huge drawback in special bulk. And even if that were the case, then what were they trying to do with Hisuian Avalugg? Hisuian Avalugg is a more offensively oriented variant of Avalugg with adjustments to its stats and typing to reflect this. It's got an improved 127 attack stat, which helps justify its low special defense stat. Along with that, its rock typing means that it's got one of the best offensive type combinations in the game, but this comes at the cost of even more weaknesses and an even lower special defense stat, while also becoming faster than the regular Avalugg for some reason. And that isn't great because base Avalugg could underspeed Amoonguss and Trick Room and threaten the one-shot, but Hisuian Avalugg can't actually do this. They're both kind of just failures of defensive Pokemon, as they can't manage to decide if they want to go on the offensive or not. They gotta get buffs that make you decide one way or the other if they're ever going to succeed. This channel is partnered with Gamersupps. If you want to support my work and get great tasting drinks, you can order Gamersupps through my link in the description down below or with code Moxie boosted at checkout for 10% off. Gamersupps is a caffeinated product that I recommend only to my 18+ viewers, but my link will send you to their caffeine-free product section just in case. Every product purchased through my link supports my channel financially, so I'd really appreciate the support. Now back to the video. Okay, so we need to address the elephant in the room, or rather the giant horned monster and the dinosaur. And I don't even know what you are, a compass? We have to address them. One of the biggest botches that can occur when designing a Pokemon is giving them a poor defensive typing, but one of the goofiest typings to fail at being solid defensively is Rock Steel, which is crazy because last time I checked, rocks are pretty sturdy and steel's pretty tough too, but when you combine the two in Pokemon, it's like trying to block a sword with warm butter. The Rock Steel type is weak to only a few types, but all three of these are devastating weaknesses. This type combination is weak to water and 4 times weak to both fighting and ground. With water, fighting, and ground moves basically always being a factor in competitive matches, it makes this defensive typing one of the worst possible in the game. It does resist Rock, Bug, Psychic, Ice, Dragon, Fairy, Normal, and Flying with a Poison immunity, making it, on paper, a very good defensive typing, but in practice you find that its weaknesses are far too common for it to deal with effectively, with each one of the Pokemon having this typing failing in similar but different ways to be effective defensive Pokemon. Aggron has incredible defenses, but a pretty mediocre attack stat and low special defense stat. It does have the ability Sturdy to allow it to avoid getting one-hit KO'd by its 4 times weaknesses, but relying on this ability to not get one-shot sort of makes those defense stats pointless. Aggron even lacks any solid defensive options outside of the move Head Smash, which, while powerful, breaks the Sturdy ability due to recoil, or forces you to run Rock Head to avoid recoil, foregoing Sturdy anyways. Meanwhile, Bastiodon and Probopass are far more similar than you'd imagine, despite them both being released in Generation 4. Like, I'm not joking, unless you're a competitive player, this was basically a reskin of the exact same Pokemon. You really got the mustache and nose cosmetic with the V-Bucks to change how Bastiodon looks, man. I'm really glad you bought that battle pass. Even down to the abilities, these guys are just a little too similar, with both of them having Sturdy like Aggron. The only real differences between them are that Bastiodon sacrifices some special defense to be more physically defensive, thus giving it a more powerful body press, and they gave them both different hidden abilities, which doesn't really change how they play too much, since in most cases both want to run Sturdy anyways. I guess Probopass's Magnet Pull makes it like Skarmory bait? I don't know, it's getting body pressed in one shot anyways. Bastiodon is for sure the better of the two though, as it's the only one who has results in Generation 9, thanks to the SoCal Bastiodon Mafia. That's a real thing, look it up, I made a video about them. Also, Probopass just doesn't get foul play, which is actually super important when you're a defensive Pokemon. You could argue that Metal Burst is a bonus in favor of Bastiodon as well, but that move kind of feels, you didn't punch me, I just hit you with my face coated, so I don't really want to count that. Stack Attack is the only Pokemon who has this unfortunate Rock Steel typing to have any motion, and it's a brick wall, so any amount of motion is actually pretty impressive. And it's all thanks to the fact that this Pokemon doesn't go all in on defenses with a poor typing, and actually leverages its great 131 attack stat to be an offensive threat, especially after a Beast Boost. While these guys all had pretty abhorrent typings, even Pokemon with great defensive typings can still manage to fall short. Take for example Dusknoir and Spiritomb. As a pure Ghost type, Dusknoir is only weak to Ghost and Dark type moves, while resisting Bug and Poison and being immune to Normal and Fighting moves. And up until the year 2013, Spiritomb as a Ghost Dark type was weak to literally nothing. He had absolutely zero weaknesses. It was like if Batman actually went to therapy. Unstoppable. But in reality, completely stoppable. Did Dusknoir have incredible defenses? Yes, but it's got the HP stat of a starving kitten, so unfortunately it's not nearly as bulky as you would imagine, and its only recovery option in matches is Pain Split, which, while more effective due to its low HP stat, isn't nearly reliable enough to keep it active in a game for too long before it gets knocked out. Also, unfortunately, his Chud son is just better at all this due to Eviolite and an even lower HP stat. Go figure. Meanwhile, Spiritomb has a very similar HP stat and even lower defenses. Those defenses, of course, take it much further due to its lack of weaknesses beyond the Fairy typing, but it also lacks any real recovery options outside of Pain Split, and up until Generation 9, it didn't get access to Trick Room to support its team. The best way to describe Spiritomb is that it's kind of a paperweight of a defensive Pokemon. It's just gonna sit there for a while and accomplish nothing, especially in VGC. Foul play isn't half bad, but there's plenty of Pokemon that can do what it does as more. And our final subject of this video is Wo-Chen, who's actually perfect and its typing is super cool, so shut up. Anyways, that was just a quick little video I wanted to make talking about Pokemon's many failed defensive walls, but let me know if I missed any and how you would improve these Pokemon in the comment section below. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It'd mean the world to me. If you want to support me further, you can check out my Patreon page or become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button below the video. This gets you sneak peeks at future videos, bonus content, and access to my supporter-only Discord server where you can hang out and team build with other community members. You also see your name at the end of all my videos like all these other people. Special thanks to my most boosted supporters, Avatar67 and Club, for their generous pledges. And I'll be honest guys, I don't want to read the rest of this outro because I really want to go play Pokopia, so I'll be back another day with a different video. Bye.